Hello everyone, I'm Hannah Walsh from Ampere Analysis. For those of you who don't know us, we're a London-based research firm specialising in the media, games and sports industries. So our research typically measures in-depth financial and KPI performance indicators for the analysis of company performance, but also with detailed consumer profiling behaviours, as well as kind of large-scale data collection. And through all of this, we're able to provide a very holistic view of each of these three sectors. Today, I'm going to be more focused on the media side. So when it comes to usability, I thought I'd start by asking a quick question. No need to show hands or answer out loud, but just considering the jobs that you all have, I'm sure you have had many friends or family members ask you why their favourite show or sports game is buffering or has paused, even though they have bought fast broadband. And I think that's because the definition of usability differs whether you are working, I guess, more on the side of pipes or you're the end user. Today in the UK, on the left-hand side, you can see the broadband uptake for UK households in terms of technology. The dotted line there is this year, and what we can see is fibre is due to overtake cable, but what's important to note is the majority of households in the UK are still relying on DSL. Now, why is that important when it comes to video and TV? Well, on the right-hand side, you can see the average daily viewing of consumers in the UK. And since about 2022, that has primarily been subscription OTT or subscription streaming services, and that hasn't stopped. But what we can also see is that as broadcast TV has been declining, we then have these two lines here, BVOD and free social video, kind of nearing very eerily close to the viewing time spent on broadcast TV. And of course, those two segments, as well as subscription streaming, rely on our home networks. It's clear that when it comes to usability, it's not one size fits all. So this is now looking at what devices different demographic groups are using to actually consume video. On the left-hand side, we have our 18 to 24-year-old age group, and about a quarter of their daily viewing is spent on smartphones, another quarter spent on smart TVs. We actually just had the Q3 2025 data through yesterday. I can tell you that has not changed, and they're still about a quarter each. Now, interestingly, some of that viewing will actually overlap with each other. So you might have, different adults in a household, different demographics in a household someone watching smart TV, someone watching on their smartphone. You might even have the same individual watching something on their smartphone whilst watching something on the smart TV. On the right-hand side, we have the viewing by the 55 to 64-year-old age group, and you can see more heavily reliant on still the regular TV sets. But as time comes to replace those TV sets, of course, we're seeing an increase in smart TVs as that becomes the norm. When it comes to usability, though, it's not all about speed. It's ultimately about the end-to-end experience. And when we talk about the capacity challenge, we often talk about spectrum, pipes, data rates, but I think there's another kind of capacity that we should all be considering, and that is the user's capacity. So I've outlined this in 4 different types of cost. So the first is effort. What do viewers have to do in order to get to the content they want to watch? We then have the financial cost. How much does it actually cost for consumers to pay for those subscription services they have, their broadband network, the equipment, their data? We have the technical cost. So how much responsibility is being pushed onto your home broadband, your router, your smart TV? And finally, the experience, the frustration of buffering, the frustration of crashes, quality drops compared to your regular broadcast television. Now, these costs present themselves in different ways. I've touched on a few here. So firstly, you've got fragmentation. Every service has a different user interface. It's got a different search way of searching. It's got a different quality. It can be very confusing. You've got home networks. Broadband on paper might be fast, but Wi-Fi is often patchy, routers are underpowered, and neighbours' traffic might interfere. You've got Inequality. Some households have gigabit fibre, others, as I mentioned, stuck on DSL, at least for now, or capped mobile data. And finally, you've got complexity. Instead of it just working, people are juggling whether it's HDMI inputs, it's 10 different passwords for the 10 different services you have, endless updates. So for many, in terms of cost, it's no longer just the subscription you have, but actually it's all of this combined in making it work. So what can we do to address some of these? Now this, of course, is not the full list. There's plenty more to talk about. Firstly, we can talk about smarter integration. So introduce and expand cross-platform discovery, as well as universal guides similar to those on broadcast TV. Built-in optimization, improve connectivity through apps so that they adapt to network conditions, but we need to keep in mind we don't want it to impact the consumer viewing experience. Hybrid resilience. Ultimately, don't forget about broadcast TV. If you combine that with IP, you're then addressing scale, reliability, but also that inclusivity point where there's the older demographics still relying on that regular TV set. And finally, quite a broad topic, but designed for everyone. So when coming up with the kind of newest solutions, you almost need to take into account the least tech-savvy households, because that way, you're accounting not for only the early adopters, but those who are, of course, still consuming video today. As I mentioned, that is definitely not the full extent of the list, and I'm sure Keith and Ian will have some comments on that as well. So I look forward to discussing usability further on the panel. Thank you.